Hi, it's Lakshmi here, and before we start this week's episode, I need your help. Next year, I am taking on the biggest charity challenge I've ever done. Now, for those of you who know me well, you know I love to do things for charity ever since I was a child, from sponsored dance-a-thons, sponsored silences. Yes, I know, hard to believe me being quiet, right? Sponsored abseilings down buildings, and last year, even sleeping out on the streets of London in the middle of October in just a sleeping bag. I really try and push and immerse myself in things to raise money for good causes. And next year, I am climbing Mount Kilimanjaro for not one, but two amazing children's charities: Cordwell Children, who help disabled and autistic children all over the world, and Cordwell Youth, who empower at-risk adults aged 11 to 24. Now, this is the biggest challenge I've ever taken on because, number one, the target I need to hit is the biggest one to date. I need to raise £5,000, all of which goes to the charities, because actually the trip and expedition itself is self-funded. But hey, if you're a business and would like to sponsor that side of it, please get in touch with me. And number two, I've never climbed a mountain in my life. Although I did make up my mind at age 5 that I did find a mountain in Canada and claimed it as my own. But that's a story for another day. So please, if you are able to make a donation, no matter how big or small, it will really help me reach that target. And I will be forever grateful to you, as will the children who the money will go to. So thank you again. The link will be in the show notes below. And enjoy this week's episode. Welcome to the 111 Approach podcast, your go-to space for deep thoughts, real talk, and exploration of everything from spirituality to self-development and the mysteries of life, with some light-hearted humour along the way. I'm your host, Lakshmi, aka the 1 Minute Healer, and each episode will dive into different topics, sometimes personal, sometimes thought-provoking, but always authentic. So whether you're here for some new perspectives, inspiration, or just a fresh take on the world with a bit of randomness thrown into the mix, you're definitely in the right place. So what are you waiting for? Let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the 111 Approach podcast with me, Lakshmi, aka the 1 Minute Healer. And you should know by now that I start and end everything I do with gratitude. So thank you. Thank you for being patient with me. Thank you for allowing me to have the space, because I've realised that it's been more than a month since I've uploaded an episode. And the reason why I've taken out some time and not uploaded anything is because I just needed to take a break. I was prioritising self-care. And that's the topic of today's episode. What is self-care? And I'm talking about true self-care, because there is such a thing as false self-care. Self-care under the pretense of looking after yourself, but it's just surface level. And you know, if there's anything about me, and you know how I feel about surface level shit, people, we aren't here for it. So I thought I'd do a little episode to let you know I'm still here and I'm still very much in love with my podcast, but I've had to prioritize other things in my life and in my business. And that is a form of self-care where you can actually take a step back and be like, no, I have to put a pin in this for now because I'm overwhelmed and I'm overloaded. And I have been working on some really cool things that are coming out this year in the background, but I've had to also hold my hands up and be like, I just don't have the space for this right now. So unfortunately, as much as this is my passion project and I love doing the podcast, I have just had to take a step back and be like, no, I also need to prioritize myself. Self-care. What is it? Now, let's be honest. When most people hear this word self-care, what's the first thing that comes into your mind? Now, I'm not a gambling woman, but I'm pretty willing to put money on that. The first thing that, for most of the population, that comes into mind is an image of someone in a bathtub, probably a woman, with a sheet mask on, her hair in a towel turban, a glass of wine, and maybe reading a book or watching something in her bathtub. Or it could be having a massage or getting your nails done or just pampering yourself, basically. Now, yes, that is a form of taking care of yourself, but true self-care really comes from within, as does everything. You know, they always say everything starts from within, and self-care is no exception to that rule. So I did a bit of research, as I do, because you know me, I'm a scientist at heart, and your girl loves a bit of research and some facts. So the World Health Organization, or WHO, And every time I say who like that, I feel like I keep imagining that scene from Alice in Wonderland and the caterpillar, who is clearly high off his rocker. In fact, the whole premise of Alice in Wonderland is that she takes drugs and goes on this weird, like, mushroom trip. And yeah, it's just basically a psychedelic representation of drugs. So anyway, circling back to WHO, the World Health Organization, has a page on self-care for health and well-being. And it says here, and I'm literally reading off the website now, self-care is the ability of individuals, families, and communities to promote health, prevent disease, maintain health, and cope with illness and disability with or without the support of a health worker. So basically, caring for yourself without needing anyone else to do that. Currently, 3.6 billion people, which is pretty much half the population of the world, lack access to essential health services. And WHO recommends self-care interventions for every country and economic setting, which is a critical path to reach universal health coverage, promote good health, and keep the world safe and serve the vulnerable. So self-care isn't just a luxury. It's in fact a vital and necessary part of keeping ourselves alive and healthy. So there you have it. The World Health Organization is saying that self-care is really important. And this goes beyond bubble baths, manicures, pedicures, and an Indian head massage here and there. So I wanted to look into what really is true self-care versus false self-care. So self-care can take on many forms, from the simplest of pleasures like reading your favorite book or watching your favorite TV show or listening to your favorite podcast. 111 approach, just saying. And it can range to taking yourself out for a massage or a relaxing treatment. But not everything that is seen to be self-care on the surface is actually really truly self-care, because to quote a psychiatrist called Pooja Lakshmin, who wrote a book called The Real Self-Care, real self-care brings you closer to yourself, whereas false self-care feels like you're doing something for yourself in the short term, but actually brings you more stress and anxiety in the long run. Now examples of false self-care can mean something like buying something that you necessarily can't afford, but you just want to treat yourself because you're like, oh, I'm feeling down and I need to prioritize my self-care, so I'm just going to treat myself. However, in the long run, probably not the best purchase to buy. And similarly, if you're going to treat yourself in the terms of having a meal or a treat or a dessert, something that's not going to be ideal for your health and well-being, it's not really self-care. Self-care looks like nourishing yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally. Another version of false self-care is procrastination. Now, this is a tricky one because you might think that actually task is too overwhelming for me right now, so I need to prioritize my self-care, take a rest, slow down, and put it off. And yes, in some cases, that is what you need to do. But if you find yourself procrastinating around the same task, then there's something deeper lying there, because that is not true self-care, especially if it's something that you really need to get done. And as I say this out loud, a list of 5 different things have popped into my mind, and my guides are like, you've been procrastinating on these. So I'm just here to tell you, we all do it and we are all guilty of it, myself included. But it's really important just to become aware of what's going on in your life. And that's where you can then take a step back and really analyze, what does self-care truly mean for you? And that's what we really want to do, because we are all individual. And so someone else's version of what self-care means for them is going to be very different to what self-care looks like for you. So all you can come back to is your true authentic self. Now, the reason why people struggle to identify this is because a lot of us are not being our true authentic selves. Now, authenticity is one of the highest frequencies. In fact, I think it is the highest frequency you can be in. A lot of people think love is the highest frequency. Now, love is up there. Let me tell you, Love is a very powerful vibration and frequency. However, I have said it before and I'll say it again, but gratitude, true gratitude, is actually on a higher frequency than love, because when you can be in true gratitude for something, then there is a part of you that loves it. So you're getting a 2-for-1 there, gratitude and love. And now I've recently come to learn that actually authenticity is on a higher frequency than gratitude and love, because when you are your true authentic self, you are in unconditional love with how you are and who you are. And so there encompasses everything. Now, people struggle with being their true authentic self, or even finding out who their true authentic self is, because we wear so many masks to fit in to society. And it's something I've talked about repeatedly throughout this podcast, because we all play different roles, and that's okay, because we have to. We play the role of the mother, the daughter, the sister, the whatever you do for work. Okay. So I'm an energy healer, a light worker, a life coach, a mentor, a guide. And to some people, I'm their savior. Like, I get countless messages of people telling me how much my work has helped them and how I've saved their life. However, there are also people out there in the world that don't think that highly of me, that I've played a role of the villain in their storyline. In fact, there was a client I was working with a couple of years ago who was in a very toxic relationship, and they came to me for healing and some coaching. And after a couple of sessions, this person realized that they had to leave this very toxic relationship that they'd been in for a fairly long time. And they finally got the courage to leave their partner and the partner's kids. It wasn't my client's kids. He was just not even a stepdad. He was just the boyfriend of the mother. But she literally came for me because she had convinced herself that because of me, he had now decided to leave her and it was all my fault. So, however much I tried to convince her that that was not the case, she just wants to paint me with that kind of brush. So, on one hand, I have my client who was about to commit suicide because he didn't know any other way to get out of this relationship and came to me to seek help as a last resort. And in 2 sessions, I'd managed to get him to realize that that wasn't the case. He doesn't need to do that. So, on one hand, he's there thanking me for saving his life. And then on the other, his ex is trying to paint me out to be some kind of homewrecker, the worst thing on this planet. As I said, we play different roles, and that's absolutely okay. However, it does make it a little bit more difficult to come back to who are you truly. And this is a topic that we do discuss and go into on the 2-month coaching and healing program that I have launched this year. And we start to strip away these layers and these roles that we play and get back to the true soul self, so that you can actually come back to see what true authenticity means to you. And if that's something you're interested in, please do get in touch, because I'll be running this course multiple times this year. So, coming back to true, authentic self-care. So, I've given you some examples of false self-care. So, what are some examples of true self-care? So, true self-care is putting things into place in your life that are going to make things easier for you. So, things like nourishing your body physically, getting enough sleep, and exercising, moving your body, and eating well, and hydrating with good quality water. Please don't be drinking tap water these days. Please get a filter. I will leave a link in the show notes below so you can have a look at some water systems and filter jugs that I recommend, because the tap water is just not the one. Another example of true self-care is showing yourself some compassion and kindness. Talking and treating yourself with grace and understanding, rather than judging yourself and beating yourself up mentally and emotionally. Setting boundaries with yourself and for others. Saying no. No is a full sentence. You can actually just say no. Pause for effect. It's hard. I'm not going to lie. It is difficult to start doing this. And that's where I can come and help you if you need some extra guidance. But basically, what I'm trying to say is it's been a hot minute since I did an episode. This is a little mini PSA that I'm still around and I will be back with some regular episodes, but I've had to take some time out for prioritizing my self-care and putting myself and my boundaries in first. So I invite you all to do the same. I said it this earlier today when I was a guest on someone else's podcast. Best things in life are free, just like that Luther Vandross song. And it's not just about the feelings like love, laughter, joy, and passion. All of your feelings are free. You get to feel those. But also, the sun, the moon, the stars, the air that we breathe, this is all free. And it's the same with self-care. So this is your little reminder to do something this week and put into place a form of true self-care. And let me know how you feel. So as always, we're going to end on a 1-minute meditation. And guess what? Meditating is free. You can do it anywhere. And it is a form of true self-care. So if it is safe for you to do so, go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold for a few seconds and then breathe out through your mouth. Dropping your shoulders, relaxing your jaw. And just put one hand on your heart and one hand on your stomach. And slowly breathe in deep, intentional breaths. Breathing in through your nose, pushing your stomach out. Whenever you're ready, breathing out through your mouth. Bringing your stomach back in. Doing this a few times at a pace that's right for you. And telling yourself that you're nurturing and nourishing your body with each breath. You're bringing in true self-care with intention, with mindfulness, and with love and gratitude. And as you breathe out, just releasing any stress, any tension, and giving your body and your mind and your energy just a minute to be in a state of pure, nurturing existence. And as you take your last one, and as you take your last breath now, just breathe in and out, and you can open your eyes. So thank you for listening and also understanding the reasoning for the sabbatical I took from the podcast. And even though this has been a filler episode, please remember to go and download, like, and share it, because it's a great way to do a free energy exchange for the fact that you are listening to this episode. And maybe you got something out of it. Do a good energy exchange because it's good for your karma and for your soul. I will see you on the next episode, sending you love, light, and blessings.